We are with you right now. You are seeing me, Michelle Ward, the When I Grow Up coach, and my special guest from Grown Up Gigs today, a former client of mine and a full-time interior designer, Maggie Morgan, aka Maggie Rose. Yay! Yay! Thank you so much for being here, and thank you guys, Teresa and Stacy and guests, for tuning in. If someone could just, I'm without my trusty producer today, so if someone could just type in the chat that you could hear us, like, yes, we could hear you, that would be great, because I'd hate to be babbling on and have no one be able to hear us. Do that, that would be fantastic. Do you see it? I don't see anyone.
Yeah, Teresa says we're live.
Oh, good. Okay. I don't know why that's not coming in. Oh, great. Okay, thank you, Teresa. Fabulous. So just to familiarize you guys with Spreecast, if you're new to Spreecast, I love this platform super much. And you could see that there's a live chat place where you guys could chat with each other. Maggie and I will also be able to see what's on that chat, but because we'll be talking to each other, we won't be paying like too much attention. So if you have a question for us, please use the submit question button. And what that will do is submit your question kind of behind the scenes that I could see. And we're going to break every 20 minutes or so for questions. So we're not going to wait until the end of the hour and then answer all the questions. As when I see them come in, we'll break and answer them. So feel free to just throw it out there as they come. And to answer the question, what this Spreecast is about, I'm the When I Grow Up coach. I work with creative people to help them discover and achieve the dream jobs they think they can't have. And I created Grown Up Gigs as an interview series. It's an inside look at dream jobs held by real people. So Maggie's an interior designer, and if that's something that interests you, you are totally in the right place. And what I found from doing these grown-up gigs, I've done them once or twice a month since January, is that there are lots and lots of takeaways for just creative careers in general. So even if you're not specifically wondering what it's like to be an interior designer, or that specifically isn't a career path that interests you, but you are interested in maybe having a non-traditional, creative, entrepreneurial career, you're still in the right place. So that is fabulous. So I need to start all of these grown-up gigs as is my moniker with the question, what did you want to be when you grew up, Miss Maggie?
That is kind of a hard question to answer. I definitely was always a really creative kid and big bookworm. So I think in general, careers that seem kind of artistic and fun and creative sounded really fun, but I also have a very like literal side of my brain that lends itself to the entrepreneurial side. So, things like a lawyer. Like I'd be a terrible lawyer, but that sounded really appealing for a while.
Oh, wait, Maggie, I'm gonna stop you. Maggie, I'm gonna stop you real quick because I think your volumes got low for some reason. So if you could either get closer to your computer or the volume, I think that would be.
That sounds
Is that better, you guys? Yeah.
better.
I think that's better.
Okay.
Great. Yes, much better.
Yeah, so just a lot of different jobs appealed to me, and I think interior designer never really popped into my head, even though I was spending a lot of time redecorating my bedroom as a child. That was my favorite thing to do, and decorating my dollhouse and all of that. So yeah, it didn't really occur to me that that was a career option until even after college.
Oh, I love that you brought this up so kind of early on because I feel like there is such a direct connection between what we did as children and what we kind of grow up to be adults. And when I talk to people about their careers and when they find their passionate careers, a lot of the time I hear oh, I used to do this for hours when I was a kid, but as we grow up, we sort of discounted it or we feel like it's not something that's viable. So when did you reconnect to that part of you that used to decorate your room for hours on end?
Definitely when I moved into my first apartment post
Mhm.
college. Um, I had started, buying stuff for my place and putting things together, and I was really excited about it. But I didn't know any of the resources available. I knew people bought furniture at Pottery
Right,
Barn.
right.
I think that was about it. So, and I couldn't afford Pottery Barn.
That is
So I started searching the internet and found design blogs, and that was kind of my like, these are my people. These are people thinking about curtains and chairs and how to arrange things beautifully, and I just ate it
mm,
up. So that was really when I thought about, oh, there's this whole world. I'd read Metropolitan Home as a kid, which is sadly now not a magazine anymore. Um, my mom subscribed to it, and so I used to read that all the time. And so I already was familiar with some of the ideas and concepts, and it was just so fun to talk about those things with other people that were also passionate about it.
mm. It's so funny picturing you as a little kid reading Metropolitan Home, which I am not familiar with that. What was that?
I had I had huge bangs too, so I was just like this like nerdy little ginger girl. So
I love it. I don't know that magazine specifically, but just thinking you with like, I don't know, being little and reading um like Elle Decor or something. You know what I mean? This little girl going through, this
yeah,
big.
yeah. Oh, very similar.
So funny. So funny. So when you went and kind of started Googling and saying, what's the world beyond Pottery Barn? Do you remember it, and finding these bloggers? When when was that? You remember the year or
That would have been Yeah, that would have been like 2007, 2008.
okay.
Probably 2007 because by 2008 I decided to start my own blog, and that it took a while for me to think like, oh, I also have something to contribute. So
Mm.
yeah, it's been 5 or 6 years.
Oh, if you could remember that far, describe that transition to I want to find furniture that's not Pottery Barn. Here are all these bloggers that are also kind of dreaming of curtains. I'm going to start my own blog. Was there anything that you had to kind of get through in order to put yourself out there?
Um, I don't think so. I mean, I my degree is in writing, so for me, like having thoughts and opinions lent itself to writing them down really easily.
Mm.
Um, so I think after a while, after I was reading some of these and picking up on some of the trends really easily and quickly, because that comes really
Mm.
naturally to me, um, I was leaving comments and things like that, and thinking like I could really discuss this with somebody, and I thought like, well, then why don't I just discuss it and write my own blog and put my voice out there too. So I think that was it. There wasn't really a hurdle in my mind. I hear a lot of people say like, oh, I don't know, no one will read it. Like that didn't really occur to me. I didn't really care if anybody read it, I
Huh?
guess. Um, I just wanted to
Mm.
write it down. So
Oh, it's so good to hear. So it wasn't about let's have 1,000 visitors a day. Like for you, it was like it sounds like it was
I mean,
right. But it sounds like it
yeah,
started.
that sounded awesome.
But it started as a personal
Yeah,
project. So like there was kind of no way to fail, and it took the pressure off. Um, since it was
right.
just like, oh,
And
let's just
I didn't tell people in my real life about it for a while either. It was kind of this was kind of pre-Twitter too, so it was very much leaving comments on other people's blogs and saying, "Come see my blog." There wasn't really social media networking happening quite to the extent that it is now, for sure. So it was very like finding your people and communicating with them.
2007, 2008 is like the dawn of WordPress blogs. I think like before that, people were in LiveJournal, and that was kind of it. Um, so to think
Yeah,
that it was kind of pre-Twitter when Twitter was just getting started. I know that I started my blog in 2008, and I was on Twitter a few weeks after that, but it was just, I mean, not even close to where things are now.
Oh yeah.
So, what was the shift? Like, what allowed you to, like, kind of come out of the closet to your family, come out of the design closet to your family, um, and kind of tell them this is what you're talking about, and also like, when did it kind of get into your head that maybe this is more than a blog, maybe this is like a business?
Yeah. I don't know. I think after maybe a couple months, I'd been writing the blog, and like I've always been close with my parents, so I think I was like, oh, look what I'm
Uh-huh.
doing, like this is kind of cool, and people are reading it, and um, so that was. My family's really creative too, so I think that they were really excited to see that I was diving into something that was a little bit more fun and artistic, and we don't have the same taste, but like just seeing me kind of in my
Well,
element, I think was really fun for them. So that was an easy share. I think when I started thinking about blog, my first instinct was to take the blog and like blog full time, do that as a career, and because my writing background, that seemed like the most natural thing. Like, oh, I should write, like for a magazine, or I should be doing this. So that was my first inclination. And I think you and I met when I was taking that blogging your way
can't believe.
Decorate, Paul Becker. I think that was in 2008, actually, or 2009. That's been a long time. um, so that was sort of my first instinct, and it was really when people started, I started gaining a following because I was focusing my efforts on that, and people were talking about, oh, well, how would you decorate my space? And, can I send you a picture and you can tell me what to do? And I was like, sure, I'll do that for free. And I started giving my opinion. And then people said, can I pay you? Can I hire you to do this? And I was like, yeah, I guess I can do that. And about the same time, there was a few other people who started offering e-design courses, which is virtual online decorating. And I thought, I have just as good ideas as they do, and we have totally different tastes than, these other people who are a little bit more on the modern side. And I thought I could do that too. So that was when I first launched e-design, and that was kind of my first foray into taking on design clients.
I love this. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg. What came first? So I think a lot of the times we hear stories about people who like settle on their business and say, "This is what I'm doing," and then go out to get the guinea pigs or get the clients or get the customers. And for you, I love that it worked in the opposite way. So because of your blog, you were able to showcase your style and your know-how. And that led to people saying, can you decorate my space? Let me give you money. It's so nice to be able to go around and be like, oh, yeah, okay, this would be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I love that.
It wasn't very much money.
But still, it sounds like it kind of planted the seed or gave you that light bulb moment of like, oh, there's a need out here for this, and I could do.
For sure.
Talk to us a little bit about what you were doing job-wise when you started blogging and stuff, because I think it's very interesting and relevant and inspiring.
A lot more than I'll go into.
I know, I do.
From our time together. I had started working in nonprofit fundraising when I was still in college, working at the alumni phone-a-thon. Kind of got my feet wet doing fundraising, and I really enjoyed that kind of work, and it was kind of creative in a way too. And I got a full-time job after graduating that was also in nonprofit fundraising, and I had started there a little bit when I was in college, but really went full-time after college. And, it just wasn't a great fit. And I think doing that kind of work full time, I realized like maybe this isn't really what I'm supposed to be doing. But I kept kind of going at it because I thought, like, maybe I'm just not doing it right, or I'm not, uh, it's not clicking the right way, or maybe I'm not at the right place, And over the years, it just became clear, like, this isn't creative enough for me. I was getting to write a little bit, but it was very formulaic writing. I didn't like being in an office. I didn't like being people. And, for me, like, just being so passionate about, like, fabrics and furniture and things like that, like, and about entrepreneurship, it just seemed like that was kind of a natural way to be. So I did work there for 5 years, and that was almost 3 of those years I think I was blogging. So it was very much like about halfway in, I was like, I need something else. So.
Right. I want to interrupt by telling, I see that there are some new people that joined us. Hi, new people. I want to encourage everyone to submit their questions as we're talking and going on. We'll be breaking a few times during the hour to answer questions. So whatever you have for Maggie about anything that she said so far, about quitting your job, about being an interior designer, about blogging, anything else that you have for us, please submit a question and we'll be breaking sporadically to answer the question. So it seems like for about 2 years or so you were in that job, you were trying to kind of make it work, and there was what's the phrase? A square peg in a round hole. It's kind of what it sounded like. You were trying to fit.
A little. I mean, there were elements of it that I was good at, and I think I tried to really focus on those things and learn more about those. And I did learn a lot that I took away starting my own business. You learn office skills, and I worked a lot with our accounting and things like that. So it was kind of like I was picking up things, but it just wasn't necessarily what I wanted to be.
So after about 2 years, you come to that realization, and like we spoke about earlier, the blog was more of a creative outlet and your own sort of project, because you knew that what you thought about on your own time were curtains and furniture and decorating type things. And let's just see where that goes. I mean, did you have an inkling when you even started that like this could turn into an entrepreneurial endeavor?
I think I've always had that kind of spirit, so there's probably a little bit of it. Definitely once I got going, I think if people were reading, I thought, like I said, oh, I should blog full time, which now I'm like, it's not something that I'm glad that didn't work out. Let's just say that. But once I started taking on design clients, I was really like, this is what I want to do. Can I figure out how to do local clients? Like, how does that work? Should I just do e-design all the time? And I think after I'd been doing that about almost not quite a year, is when I really got kind of stuck thinking, like, what's next? Like, what do I do? How do I make this happen? And that's when I started working with you. Because I just, I was still spinning my wheels in my job, thinking I want to do this other thing. How do you do that? Like,
right.
Start. And I had so many ideas, and I just like had a lot of trouble narrowing down to say, this is what I should do. These are the steps I should take. And it took a while. There's a learning curve.
Yeah. And thank you for spelling that out for us, because I think a lot of the times, when we're looking at something from the outside in, it looks like things happen overnight, or success happens overnight, or blogs happen overnight, or whatever. But really,
nothing happens overnight.
It takes it. Nothing happens overnight. That's one of my quotes. Hold on, I'm writing this. Nothing happens overnight. That's a huge takeaway. And I think, and it's interesting too to hear with your background in writing, you are kind of really tuned into, okay, well, I'm going to write. So I could write about design, which I really love, but it's about the writing, not about the designing until you kind of came around to realizing, oh, that's not going to be so fun for me after all. Yeah.
And
And
I think,
even,
like I have all these books like in the other room that are starting your career as a magazine writer and like pitching the magazines and all these things. And what was really exciting for me was getting into somebody's, room, even virtually, and
mm-hmm.
coming up with an idea and imagining the possibilities. And I didn't get that out of the idea of writing things. And I do contribute like to at least one website right now, and I still write the blog and I write guest posts and things. So it's still active, but it's not the main focus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, I talk a lot about being a Renaissance soul, and that essentially means someone with a lot of different passions and interests, and they don't want to pick just one. And I think that what we're talking about right now, you kind of carved out this Renaissance soul type of career, even though you only have one title, and it's interior designer. You know that you can lean on your writing skills and your writing degree and your writing strength to help promote your business. Could put on that hat. I know you've written ebooks, which I think you've retired, right?
The ebook, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of time, not a lot of profit. So.
Uh-huh. Oh, Maggie, I think people are still having a problem hearing you, but not me. Story of my life, Amy. Um, do you see, Maggie, there's like a volume. Um, there's a
On the
volume.
thingy.
Yeah, it should be on this broadcast.
Does that sound better, everyone?
That sound better, you guys?
I turned it all the way up.
And I turned mine down a little bit.
All the way up?
Oh, oh,
Is
oh.
that better?
Yes, that's better. Actually, a little lower than that. That's like blasty.
Okay.
Yay!
How does that sound?
Much better.
Yay.
Much better, right, everyone? Fabulous. Okay, yay, thank you. I'm gonna put up Stacy's question. Thank you for asking questions, Stacy. Starting us off. So Stacy says, I have a degree in teaching. For the past few years, have slowly transitioned over to interior design. Any advice for getting started in the interior design world? Love that question.
That is a very open-ended question. I could give lots of advice. I think if you're interested in working in interior design, there's a few paths that you can take that are sort of tried and true. One of them is going back to school. I did not go back to school, but for some people that is a really good fit and a really good idea. Especially if you kind of have a flair for design, but you're not really familiar with space planning or color concepts or, really the design, like the structure of design and how design works in people's lives. That's the kind of thing that you learn in school. I think too, it's also if you really want to be an interior designer and you want to be ripping out people's walls and doing full remodels and that's what you go to school for. And I think that's a really great fit for a lot of people. It wasn't for me. So if you don't want to go back to school, you can try getting a job with an established designer. Some of them will want you to have schooling experience, but some people don't care. If you can learn AutoCAD, that's a huge marketing skill, especially if you want to be working for a designer. And, just be eager to learn about things. I think check out books from the library. I bought a bunch of books that are actually the textbooks that the interior design school near me sells. And I've been reading those. And I think, just being open to learning about things beyond, pretty fabric is really going to help you a lot. One thing that you don't learn in school, I've heard this from a lot of my friends who have degrees, is the business side. So if you want to start your own business, just know that people who are doing interior design school will also have to learn all of these business skills once they graduate. So, familiarize yourself with business practices, how to set up an LLC if that's what you want to do, how to employ people if that's what you want to do, but really like just getting set up, registering as a business, and marketing your services. Jumping in with 2 feet, getting great photographs of all of your work is really key, and just doing as much design work as possible. That's the key.
I love this, and I'm glad.
Taking notes, Stacey. That was a lot of information.
And there is a recording of this, so if anyone goes to here, I'm putting it in the chat. You could sign up for the list to get the recording and blah blah blah. But I'm glad this brought up the school question, because I hear this a lot, specifically attached to interior design, that like you are just not being taken seriously.
Very hot minute.
You will not get a job. You will not be taken seriously. You will not get hired unless you have that certificate, education, experience, whatever behind you. So I feel like the chicken and the egg is kind of like a theme here. So hearing you say that there are some people that will care and throw out your resume if you don't have that education on there, but there are people that it sounds like they probably just want to see the work and meet you and know that you're smart and wonderful and whatever. How would you suggest to kind of get started on that work, or what do you think those people would need to see from you in order to feel good about hiring you?
Potential clients or other designers?
Ooh, maybe both. I mean, and I'm happy to hear about your experience as to like what you kind of come up against as someone who decided not to go back to school for interior design.
So I would say the main thing that you're limited from if you don't go back to school is taking on large-scale remodel jobs. Anything that involves changing the actual physical structure of a room or a building, you need to have really good knowledge of building codes. You need to know, that you're not going to make the person's house fall down. The other side of that is if I'm going to take on a project like that, I absolutely bring in an architect, a contractor. You can outsource those things, which I think a lot of people don't think about. They just think like, oh, well, I can't do it myself, so it can't happen. Well, it can happen. It's going to cost a little bit more money, to bring in those other people. So I think, I can't answer for saying what other designers are looking when they hire, but I know that when I look to hire someone, I don't have a degree, but I have a great eye, and that's kind of the key thing that I would be looking for. I also I don't care if someone went to school, but it would be amazing if they knew AutoCAD, and that's because I want to be able to give dimensions to somebody and have them draw it up. And I can outsource that right now, but if I was building a team, that would be a really crucial piece to have. So you don't have to be in school to learn AutoCAD. You can learn it on your own, but that's a huge marketable skill. And I'll touch on the client thing briefly. I think people want to see results from previous jobs. They want to see what's a room that Maggies Interiors designed and what does it look like. They want to hear good recommendations from the people you've worked with. Was the project on time? Was it under budget? A lot of people assume a designer is going to go use a budget as the jumping point and say oh, well, we're going to double that, but it's no problem. Good designers don't do that. They do use that as the upper number. So they want to hear from people and say what was she like to work with? And I'm lucky to work with some really amazing clients that have given me recommendations, and that's been a great source of work. But I think people don't know the difference between somebody who went to design school and somebody who didn't. I think they should be educated what kind of project are you wanting to do to your home, and what kind of expertise do you need? You just need furniture. You don't need to hire, somebody whose expertise is tearing out walls. You need to hire somebody who does really good space design. So I think, clients that do their research are happy no matter what. So
I love this. I feel like after everything you say, I say, I love this because I do. I love all of it. And I think it's just, it ties into that takeaway of nothing happens overnight. That if you know, the first steps are to just work with clients and build that portfolio. And obviously, interior design is very visual. People want to see the before, they want to see the after. And knowing that you could delegate the theory, architecture, contractor sort of work. And I guess we haven't really specified, Maggie. Like I know what it is that you do with your clients, but with that, could you say like I don't know, talk about the type of services that you offer and the work that you do, and I guess don't do with your clients?
so that's kind of been changing. I think I've been in business full time 2 years now. Um, and I think I really have more of an emphasis on this virtual design for a long time. I've now actually folded that into my regular services. So for all the services I do, I offer them now locally and online. I really have more of a focus on my local clients right now because those are bigger, juicier projects. So I offer primarily what I would like to do is full scale projects. So that's going in and, the house is mostly empty or, people want to mostly get rid of things. And, doing the whole house if possible, or even just a room at a time. I do that too. But sourcing everything from finishes to furniture to curtains and drapes and accessories, and then bringing it all in, and providing the client with a finished product. That's what I really love to do. I think that side of the business is building. I think it's been a lot of, the first year, it's a lot of 1 hour, 2 hour consults. I do a lot of paint color consults. That can be a really great way for people to get familiar with knowing a designer. I've had some of those come back a year later and then hire me for a full project. So I do offer hourly consults, which, people say, or I said when I first started, like, design's for everyone. I'm budget friendly. That's, you learn over time, I think, that isn't what makes money. Like I can't make a living on budget projects because the people who don't have a budget to pay for things don't have a budget to pay me either. So, for budget clients, I like to say, hire me for 2 hours, we'll walk around your house. I'll give you as many ideas as I can churn out in 2 hours, and we can talk about colors and layout and things like that, but I'm not going to go any more in depth than that. And that can be a really great option. So I do still offer that since I don't necessarily work with people who have, like a $5,000 budget. It's just not enough to work with. So those are pretty much the main services they offer. Basically, I just say, like, if you want something, ask me, and I'll figure out if I can do it or not. So that answers your question.
Yes. And it's just amazing to kind of hear you talk about what you offer now and what you don't, and your boundaries, and what you've figured out what needs to be said no to. And I put Maggie's website, which I totally should have mentioned earlier, you guys, in the chat. So not that we want you to click away from the Spreecast right now, but feel free to open that in another window and check it out. But I know that when we started working together, I mean, it was all about like your $10 ebooks and virtual decorating, and that was pretty much it. Like, you barely, I know you were interested in local work, but we're like just getting your feet wet with that. and it wasn't really like clicking yet. So to see you here on the other side and being like, oh, if you have a budget under $5,000, I could like do something for you, but it's gonna be really limited. And yay.
I know it's quite the 180, I think.
Was there a shift? Was there a moment in time that was like, oh, it's time to, I want to say step it up, and I don't mean it that way, because even when you were offering these lower price products and services, you were working your freaking butt off.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think Step It Up is a really, I mean, besides being a really cheesy movie, I think it's a really great way to phrase it, because it was really, I'm still kind of going through it too. A process of saying, like, what level is my business at now? Or where do I want it to be? And, like, how do I get up there? And I don't know if it was, like, one day I suddenly thought of it, or, even, like, one project or one client. I think it was over the first year of taking on local clients, I kind of was realizing, I'm getting these people contacting me that I had some really amazing clients that year, but there were also people that were asking me for quotes. I'm like, this isn't a project that I want to do. And, this is a really low budget, and they want a lot more from it than I can give them. And I think that, combined with, I did a ton of reading about, the business of interior design that year. I'm still reading. People were saying, the higher prices and the higher budgets are the projects that keep you sustained. It's that Walmart versus Neiman Marcus analogy, where you can provide stuff for cheap for a lot of people, or you can provide stuff at a higher price point for a very select market. And, I don't have the resources or the ethics of Walmart, and I don't want to water down my services to appeal to mass market. I want to have, fewer clients that are paying more, that are getting better service because I'm spending more time on them, and they're getting a better product in the end. And that's the kind of work that I want to do, because that's what excites me. It's picking out beautiful things and putting them in beautiful spaces. And not just, this is the cheapest lamp I could find. You should put this in your living room. So, that was a process of coming about, and I think even now I'm still figuring out, what's cheap to a client that makes $1 million a year is not cheap to me. It's probably very expensive to me. So, just figuring out all those dynamics are constantly developing up here. And it's still a process, and it's still figuring out who my ideal client is. That's the first question you hear, in every interior design book, marketing book, like, who's your ideal client? Well, that's changing, and it's still narrowing down to that.
Ooh, could we talk a little about that? And again, I want to encourage everyone to submit questions as they come up. But I would love to hear what you maybe thought that was, or what it used to be, and now like how it's evolving and changing. Because it seems like you've just gone through such a journey, or transition from offering really like online only sort of services and products, which I feel like appeals to a certain demographic. And then I know before we went on air, you were talking about how now you find yourself working with a lot of older people that like might not even know what a blog is, or wouldn't know, a virtual decorating service would like blow their mind.
Yeah. I think when I first kind of started out, I was thinking, budget friendly. I was thinking of people, as my peers, getting started in their first places, or newlyweds who were first moving in together. Like, that was kind of that's who I was around. So I think for me, that was a natural kind of place to start networking.
Mm-hmm.
And I very quickly learned, like those people, especially the newlyweds, as I'm planning my own wedding, I realized you do not have any money. You just spend it all on catering. So, those people were great supporters, especially in the blog, and especially, with the e-design. That was a really good target market for that. But as I started wanting to take on bigger projects, the people that I was getting inquiries from kind of out of the blue were people who were very established, who had either grade school age kids or teens, or children my age in their mid 20s, who maybe some of them were empty nesters and they wanted to finally like reclaim their home.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of them too, working parents who want to provide a better space like for their kids, but also to entertain in, and they don't have time because they're working a ton. So I think it's my clientele has aged a lot quicker than 2 years, but those are the people that I've found are ready to spend money, and that's really key. When you're in the business of selling stuff essentially and providing design service that revolves around material things, clients that are ready to get up off some money and invest in their home. So I think that I'm figuring out kind of like what's the salary range maybe for the people that I would really love to work with. I don't have that part yet, but yeah, it's gotten older and they've gotten wealthier, and they're still same kind of people. They still love design and they want new home.
Mm. So is it safe to say that just as important, or maybe even more important than what's your ideal client, is like who has the money to pay you for what you're doing? You need to kind of think of both things.
I think that is it's just a big part of who the ideal client is. Um, part of it too, like I work with a lot of moms or wives who stay home.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's, I think that's pretty common actually among other designers as well. Um, their husband might have a very high-powered, well-paying job, and they're able to stay home, and that actually works really well because they're available to talk to and meet and get together with. So that is kind of like if you're thinking of an ideal client as a way to pigeonhole your marketing efforts, that can be really great because you think, okay, stay-at-home moms, husbands work for the Seattle area, that's Microsoft, Amazon, um, executive Starbucks level. So you think like, where do their wives live? Where do they hang out? Um, where should I be trying to market? That's a mom's group in like a wealthy neighborhood. Like that's where I want to be. So that's what the tool is for when thinking of an ideal client. It's really saying, where am I going to market? And then once you get an inquiry, is this person fitting into this kind of ideal project? And I'll take projects that are from people who don't make as much money if they sound amazing projects, because people have a great taste. But ultimately, you're narrowing down to people you want to replicate and work with over and over again. So, yeah. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it totally does, and I'm excited. I see some questions pop up, and we'll get to that in a second because I have one, and I'm the host, so I get to go first. Have you, is there anything specifically that you have done as your ideal client profile has sort of changed, and you've been really recognizing?
Can you repeat that? Oh, Sean Bronson? Okay, so I think Michelle was asking. Oh, wait, maybe she's back.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah. Hi.
Hey, hi. Sorry, that was weird. All of a sudden, I had like a pinwheel over my face, which is probably meant I was frozen.
Yep.
Something.
Yep.
I was asking in terms of like what you've done, what you did specifically as you saw your clientele changing and as you got more focused with like, these are the people who could pay me. Was there anything specifically that you did to cater to them and reach them in a more focused way?
In a marketing sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit. I think that's something that I'm still kind of figuring out. And in interior design, it's interesting because what you hear from a lot of people is the best way to find clients is word of mouth. It's totally true. So I think in a lot of ways, once you get that like really amazing client, that's the person that you want to say like, pass my name along to someone. And, like, do you have friends that think your house is amazing because I want to, I want to do this again and work with those people. One thing I started doing before, I was, advertising like on other blogs and things like that, and it wasn't very fruitful because that wasn't my target audience. I started marketing on houzz.com. I was seeing a lot of referrals from them. I try to always ask people, like, where did you hear about me? Just to get a sense. A lot of people, they just Google, like, Seattle interior designer. Oof, there I am. Like a genie.
SEO, I mean, SEO is a marketing tool.
Yes, yeah. But I haven't, like, specifically done anything with it. I haven't actually, like, gone out and said, like, I am plugging in secret code words. I don't really know how it all works anyway. I do know, I try to reference, the Seattle area a lot. I try to reference, interior decorator, other, phrases like that, I guess. But it's not like every post. I'm not like putting in keywords, But, Google searches have been good, and houzz.com has been good because that's an online community where people can submit questions about their interior design projects.
Cool.
Professionals can upload their portfolios, and it's really centered around design. So people who are on there are looking to renovate or decorate their homes. So it's a really good fit that way. They're not always looking to hire somebody, but if they are, it's good to be there. So, that's not a network that I like hang out in naturally. So I think that was a change too, just saying, okay, well, I need to be realistic, like where are people hanging out online? And the local side, it's hard to break into. It's kind of hard to say, like, I'm just gonna like sit in a coffee shop in this wealthy neighborhood and be like, hey, curtains.
Drop on people's conversation.
That would be creepy and weird. Yeah. And like Seattle is notoriously like very private. Like people don't really go up and talk to each other. So it's kind of networking within your circle and reaching out within those people and with former clients too, and saying, tell your friends about me. Tell your real estate agent about me. That's a big key because they're working with people who moving into a home and sometimes they're just not bringing that much stuff with them because it doesn't fit into their current or in their new house. And I hear from a lot of people like, yeah, I asked my real estate agent for a referral and they didn't know anybody, so I went to Google. And I'm like, tell your real estate agent about me, because those are good partnerships to have.
It's so smart. So there's a really proactive way that if you're really just starting out, to be able to introduce yourself to real estate agent, maybe it's worth doing a mailing to every real estate agent in the city or.
I see Stacey.
Really yeah.
That website.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What is
it?
Houzz?
That's houzz. It's houzz with Z. It's houzz.com.
Houzz.com. Sweet. Okay, let's get to the questions because we only have 10 minutes left, which is crazy. Miss Amy, I know it went so fast. Fabulous Miss Amy says, I'm not a designer, but I like when people let me take a project and just run with it. Have Have you noticed if there's a certain type of person or budget size that enjoys that setup too in your business?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think when working with people's homes, like a lot of people assume that hiring a designer means that their home isn't going to look like they live there, or that it's their home, because it would be in a designer's taste. And I think especially when you look at like decor, like there's some out there like signs that might be really appealing to the homeowner that lives there, but I think also kind of put out this image that that's what a designer home looks like. Um, and I think that I would love to just like run with a project and say like, hey, I've got $1 million to spend. I'm gonna do whatever I want. It doesn't really happen. I think I have my own aesthetic and my own taste, and of course, like finding people to work with that share common elements of that aesthetic is really where I shine. I think most designers would say that. But for the most part, I design for the people who live in the home. The first meeting we have is always about, what are your tastes? How do you use this space? What colors do you absolutely hate? A lot of times the husbands say like, oh, I don't really have an opinion, but do. They just don't know it yet. And I think narrowing down on like, this guy hates everything brass and will never let brass anything into his house. That's the kind of thing, I love brass, but I'm not going to just like go and splash it all over the house because the homeowner doesn't like it. I actually really like kind of working within certain constraints a lot of times, not too many, but having some guidelines is really fun and can push you creatively. Especially if people say like incorporate this like weird painting into my interior design. You're like, okay, let's do it. And you come up with something that you never would have thought of before, but it looks amazing. So no, I don't get to just like run with people's budgets a lot. I would say if someone's looking to hire an interior designer, what they should be looking for is somebody whose vision that they trust. Because the best results they get are within those kind of constraints. Like we love red, use red. One project I had was we really want a sectional, and most designers hate sectionals. So I said, okay, let's do it. And we did a custom sectional. We did 2 of them actually, facing each other. And we ended up with a design that I got to kind of push them a little bit and say like, okay, we're going to do this, but we're also going to like layer these rugs. And that's not something that they would have thought of on their own. And they said, you expanded our vision for what the space would be. And I think that's kind of the key, like finding those spots where you can kind of push the boundaries a little bit, but within the constraints of someone's own taste. So they learn to love something that they didn't know existed before.
It's such a good distinction, and I think that's the job of every type of designer. I always get really, really impressed with the people that I hire, because even though I know I'm creative, I don't feel like I'm visually creative, and so I've had graphic designers and website designers and whatever, and I feel like absolutely, like you have to find someone that the aesthetic at least is similar. And that's obviously what having, a blog, a website, portfolio, anything for people to see, what you feel is your best work or what's representative of your taste. But then knowing as the designer, there are some things you could kind of push on them because you are the expert. You're able to say, no, trust me on this. This is going to look great. You're going to like this. This is the right, configuration for the space, but also.
Well, that's why I get hired. Because if you already know exactly what you want in a room, then you should just go out and find it.
Right. Or it's a different job if they say, we're looking for a dresser that is, blonde wood and 6 drawers and this big, and like go find it for us. That's a totally different.
That's a shopping.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And I think at the rates that most interior designers charge, like that's a waste of money to pay somebody to do that. If you have the internet, and I'm assuming, most people do if they're able to track down a designer's website. I'm not in the film world. You can look up those things, and there's resources available online to find exactly what you want. I think what you're paying somebody for is their vision, their knowledge about how a space should function, best materials to use so that you're getting longevity out of your design and not just junky crap that fall apart in a year. And, like I always say, I'm part psychologist. I should probably get a degree in that. Because it's a lot of times people have conflicting ideas about what a room should look like between, husband and wife. And they say, I love this and I love this, it'll never work, blah, blah, blah. And, there's always a middle ground. And having somebody as a mediator can help too. So really, people who just say, I want this room out of Pottery Barn, buy it. Don't ask me to charge you to shop there and just pick out whatever is in the catalog. Like, I love those resources, but I want to mix them up with other things.
Fabulous. Thank you for that question, Amy. And let me put on, I think it's going to be the last question from Miss Cat. Hi, Cat. I'm an artist. I wanted to connect with more interior designers. Could you tell me, do you source original art from shops based on your client's personality and taste, or do you have a go-to source? Ooh, good question.
That is a good question. I would say it totally varies client to client. A lot of times, I don't like to personally pick out art for people because I think it's so personal. A lot of times, clients will have some art pieces that they already like that they want to incorporate, which is fantastic. I love to do that. There's a few local galleries that I have connected with, and those are kind of my, if somebody just needs a piece and they don't really care what it looks like those are great sources because they're good prices and the gallery owner they can source those. But things like, people I want a gallery wall of, a bunch of different pictures, but I only have 3 pictures so far, 3 photographs I'm going to use. Where do we get more stuff? I go to Etsy, I go, online. I have a huge website, folder that's artist and galleries, and there's some online galleries that are good. But yeah, I think for the most part, if I go out looking for artwork for somebody, I take them with me. I'm not going to be able to look at an abstract painting and be like, oh, love this. People have a really visceral reaction to artwork, and I can't always predict that. So, I can say sometimes to somebody we want a splash of red in this room to kind of tie in some other pieces. So if they let's look for a painting that fits this space, so that usually has semi-specific dimensions that has a great use of red. And sometimes they'll set them off on their own to look for that, or we'll some galleries, or we'll look online. So there's usually some element of it that I'm prescribing, especially size is a big thing. But really, I want people to love the artwork. No, let's see. Do I source original art from shops? I don't really have a go-to source, I guess. I do shop a lot on Etsy for small pieces.
Would it make a difference if an artist
send me your website? Yeah. if
great.
Artists, I love getting pitches from artists too, and say this is my online, portfolio. If you're interested in this, ship. That's great. So yeah, I save those, and when the need arises, I'm clicking through my bookmark. So.
Oh, it's so smart. So that's another way to be proactive. So if you're an artist, it could be really great. You're introducing yourself to these interior decorators, and it sounds like, which I would never kind of think before, but if you highlight the size of your work or what it can be or what you could do custom or whatever, could also be a really great thing that they could tuck into their pockets, because it's interesting to think kind of the size is probably the most important, one of the most important elements of the piece, and then it's like the actual piece and the colors within and the style.
A lot of times, the artwork is kind of the final layer unless we're working with something from the beginning. And and so at that point, you're looking at, what spaces are we filling? So it's, over the fireplace, over the sofa. So those are measurable areas, I think. We have also, I've had artists do pieces for space too, and say like use these colors. Like if I like their general style and the client likes their general style, we say like we need a painting these dimensions, and this is kind of our color palette. Can you do something for us? And that's worked out well too.
Very cool.
Especially abstract. That doesn't work as well for like paint us a portrait of.
It must be enormous. Look over the whole. Yeah. It's so funny.
I can't say that I've had a client that wants like one of those like royal portraits done yet, but someday.
You never know. Well, Kat does fantastic portraits, and she calls them like superhero portraits or mermaid portraits. So, like if your clients want to be superheroes or mermaids, she's your woman to go to.
That would be awesome.
And then she does the other work also. But it's really, really fun. Miss Maggie, I'm giving you the biggest hug and thanking you so, so much. I feel like there's so many wonderful takeaways. I was jotting notes down the whole time, and things that I'm taking away, and I know it's just been so helpful. Hopefully for you guys that have been here. So please, please, please go visit Maggie and follow her blog and find her on Twitter and Facebook and her newsletter at maggieroseonline.com, right? Fabulous.
Yep.
And hire her, obviously, especially if you're in Seattle, where she lives. And you can find more about me at whenigrowupcoach.com. And if you do /GUG, you'll find out more information about Grown Up Gigs, see who I've interviewed in the past. In July, as of right now, I'm taking a break from Grown Up Gigs. A lot of stuff going on. I wrote a freaking book. It's coming out soon. Yay! It's called The Declaration of You, and we just started our tour. So July, I'm taking a break from Grown Up Gigs, but I'll be back in August with Ophira from the Astro Twins, which should be a really, really fun too. So thank you, Maggie, for being here. Thank you, everyone else, for being here. We'll see you soon. Bye, you guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.